Hi and welcome to Yoga Berry, your Yoga for Scoliosis channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about cobra pose, which I'm sure you've come across if you have been to a general yoga class. And it's one of these poses where some people say this is really bad and really not good for scoliosis. And I will show you what they mean by that. And I will also show you a way to make it much safer for scoliosis. My name is Christine Jareggi-Berry. I'm a yoga teacher and I specialize in yoga for scoliosis. I run a lovely Facebook group called Yoga for Scoliosis Community. Feel free to join us over there. You'll find lots of other people who are going through the same thing as you, a place to get in touch with others, to ask questions and just inspire and motivate each other. So let's get started with our practice today. Good, so before I show you the modified version of cobra pose, let's talk about cobra pose in just the general one. So I just wanted to show you, if you come to a yoga class, you might have been asked to come into cobra, so usually it's part of a sun salutation. And what they mean by that is pressing the hands into the floor and then bringing the upper body up. Good, so some people even straighten their arms. I won't do it because it hurts my lower back. So I don't do that. With scoliosis, we obviously have quite a few issues going on here with the spine. So generally, extension and back bending means extension of the spine. Is good, it's useful, especially if you have kyphosis. So we're actually going the other way. So it's pretty much the other way that of any activities that you might be doing during the day, sitting for long periods of time. The psoas muscle here at the front gets really tight, so this stretches this out. It strengthens the back. So it's definitely got lots of good things going for it. However, where it's not useful is if it compresses in the lower back. Now imagine if you also have an imbalance, which you do, so you don't have to imagine it. This can increase the imbalance, and because we also have a rotation in the spine, so the hump side that you feel, and you might have two of those, that can actually make this worse unless you adjust it, obviously. So I'm going to bring myself up and I'm going to adjust what I'm doing, and I use a blanket. So usually I use a bolster for this, but one of my students has taken borrowed one of my bolsters for her practice. But you can very easily do this with a blanket. So this is quite a firm cotton blanket, and I folded it this way. So you want it relatively thick, especially to begin with. And you might want to use a pillow as well, but it has to be quite firm, otherwise you would just kind of squash it and sink down into the ground. You want to be lifted away from the floor a little bit. And then we're going to lie on the front. So front of the hips, pelvis is just kind of on the edge of the blanket, and the whole upper body is supported by it. So it could be slightly longer. Might be slightly more comfortable for me, but it doesn't really make a big difference. So first of all, I'm just taking the arms, the elbows out to the sides in kind of a cactus shape. So this is already a back bend. This is already an extension of the spine. So I don't actually have to do that much in this pose. However, because we do want to strengthen the back, obviously, we're going to explore just coming up a little bit higher. So just without your thinking about your curves of the scoliosis, just think about lengthening through the crown of the head. And then I like to engage my legs slightly, so I'm lifting my knees off the ground. So this engages the lower back slightly, and it protects the lower back. And then just slightly lifting away from the floor and coming back down. So it's a tiny little movement. So slightly lifting away and then coming down. Good. Now if you want to adjust this for your curves, for C curve this is relatively easy. So you would go against the curve. So let's say you have a right thoracolumbar curve. You just simply kind of bend slightly over towards the right and then explore coming up and coming back down. If you have an S curve, slightly more complicated. First of all, I like to turn my right hand out and squashing the right shoulder blade onto the back. Actually, I'm going to bring my hand slightly lower, but I don't want to bend over all the way because that would affect the lumbar curve as well. That's why I'm just literally adjusting the place of where I have my arm. And then I think about lengthening through the right leg a little bit more. So this is for right thoracic, left lumbar curve, this adjustment. So lengthening the right waist, squashing the right shoulder blade on, and then slowly bringing yourself up. Good. So if you've worked asymmetrically, you always want to come back to a symmetric position. And then again, lengthen and lift and see if this feels any different. Now you really don't have to come high. There's no need of pushing into the hands to bring yourself all the way up, and you will feel how this starts to compress the back. I'd rather you engage the legs and you just use the strength of your back. I don't need my hands here to slightly lift away from the floor and to lower. Let's do one more time. Inhale and exhale. Good. And then make a pillow with the forearms and just move the hips from side to side to release. Good. So another lovely back strengthening practice while we're in this pose. We can do with the legs, and it's quite useful. You can tell I left my socks on because it's quite useful for that. So we're just slightly tucking the toes under, just so that the tops of the toes are on the ground. So it doesn't have to be a big tuck, just kind of gently resting the tops of the toes on the ground. And already you feel how the lower back needs to start to work a little bit more. So this is quite strong. So if the first one was difficult for you, then stay with that. Otherwise, if you're feeling stronger, you can start to slowly open the feet out to the side just a tiny little bit. So it's probably about that much. And then bringing them back together. So inhale to open and exhale back together. So this is hard work. So I'm doing about 5, and then I've probably had enough. So you see how it goes. You might only manage a couple, and then next time you do it, maybe you manage 3. Coming it back. So it's just sliding the toes over the ground. Good. And then release again, moving the hips from side to side. Good. And then pushing yourself up and coming into sitting. Good. So nice counter pose. After all that back bending, could be cat-cow stretches, so mobilizing the spine a little bit more, or going into child's pose. So I really hope that you enjoyed this practice. I hope you found it useful, and it's going to help you with your cobra pose. Let me know how it goes. Please subscribe to my channel, leave me some comments. I'd love to hear from you, love to hear how it's going, and I'll see you very soon for the next video.